for this opportunity to share my story. I'm a survivor of domestic violence, but the cycle ends with me. I have my two daughters here in my cheerleading squad. My story started as a child. I'm a survivor of incest, and I'm originally from Philadelphia. And I had to testify in an open courtroom at the age of 12 to 13 against my father molesting me. That was the hardest thing I thought I had to go through life. And I survived it. But I didn't end the cycle because I didn't think I was enough. I didn't think I was worthy, and the only thing, not the only thing, one thing that I keep thinking about is there's this song by Fantasia called Necessary. And when I tell you that song resonates in my soul, I don't want to go back and redo my life because honestly, I love the skin that I am. I love who I am. Because of what I am, it's made me stronger, it's made me better. And I survived 2 heart attacks. I'm in remission from cancer and domestic violence. Like, period. I know he's about sick of me. He's trying to kill. He's like, oh, here she go again. But anyway, so I wrote a book. It's on Amazon. It's called Life Lessons in WOW. And the acronym WOW stands for Words of Wisdom. These are things that growing up, I don't need no tissues, girl. I ain't gonna cry. I'm taking back my power. Thank you. Anyway, it's called WOW because growing up in foster care and in a group home, there's no such thing as the perfect family unit or normal. I remember someone telling me that normal is a setting on a dryer. Everybody got issues. Everybody's carrying luggage. You just gotta find the person that's gonna help you carry it. I didn't know that until late in life. So if I share my story, it being a beacon of light to other women who went through this, and let them know there's light at the end of the tunnel. You're gonna get grinded up on the way, but you're gonna come out a better person. So I want to share a little bit from this poem. I didn't write it. I didn't write it, but when I saw this poem, I don't know who wrote it, and I wish I could give them credit, but this poem is me. She is not angry. She is speaking her truth in a world that tried to silence her. She is not bitter. She is holding others accountable for the hurt they caused. She is not cold. She is protecting a heart that once gave too much. She is not stuck in the past. She's learning from the past to build a stronger future. She's not fragile. She's facing storms that left her unshaken. She's not giving up. She's healing, rebuilding, and rising with each step forward. She is proof that true strength is not loud. It is resilient, steady, and unbreakable. I wish I could claim that, but I don't know who wrote it, but I love it. Here's a poem I wrote. Thank you. It's called Anymore. You have taken away my early learning years, years that I was supposed to look back on with a smile. I do not. I will not let you control me anymore. You have taken away my virginity, something every woman should be able to finally reflect on with some sweet memories. I do not. I will not let you control me anymore. Even after death, you have taken and taken until I have nothing left to give. You left behind a shell of a woman who struggled to live. I will not let you control me anymore. And as I grow old, I continuously pray that I will find it in me to forgive you one day. Because if I keep holding on to this pain, hurt, and anger, the shame will never fade away. I will not let you control me anymore. But as sure as I am that there's a God in heaven, I know that Satan is below. And I hope he has you on the spit, cooking you real slow. Yeah, I'm still working through my anger. I'm not So the significant day I want to tell you guys about is December the 2nd, 1984. And what is significant about that was my birthday. That was the day in Philadelphia that I had enough of being a victim. I was tired of DHS not doing their job. I'm still in the toxic, abusive environment with my mother. My father's in jail, But now I'm with my mother, who's now in her addiction. We had no electric, no heat. We had cold water though, and no food. And just for those who know, humor is my coping mechanism. I also do stand-up comedy. But I've learned that if I can laugh through it, I can get through it. As dark as that sound, I had to choose that path because society frowns when you punch people in the face. So on that note, that's where my dark humor is coming from, because I don't want to go back to the depression bride. When I retell my story, the trauma is trauma. And the only way I can cope and get through it is to kind of like twist it a little bit of dark humor. So I'm not minimizing domestic violence, but that's how I cope with dealing with that. So on my birthday, I decided to run away from home because I was just done. Stick a fork in me, I was done. And I had packed all my clothes up in 2 bags. I had a bag with books. Yes, I was a nerd. And I ran away. Now, I'm going to show my age by sharing this part. Back in those days, we had something called telephone books. I don't know if most of y'all can know about this book, and they had all the information in it, like, you know, people, whatever. And I looked in there, and I found this place called Boys and Girls Town. And it was supposed to be a place where kids can call, like a hotline, and it would take you, you know, to a safe place. So I did do all my research. I saw the address, and I decided on that date, I'm tired of this. I'm leaving. And it was like 11 o'clock at night. And when I tell you, my guardian angel must have been throwing back shots, because the neighborhoods I walked through in Philadelphia at 11 o'clock at night, and I was just so angry, people just left me alone. I was an angry, sarcastic child, and it was probably like, no. So it was 11 o'clock at night, and I remember walking, and the cops had stopped their car and said, where are you going? And I said, I'm running away from home, and I shared a little bit, and he was like, all right, well, and they drove off. I guess he was like, it's time to leave. My shipping ain't went on my paperwork, but that's okay. So I made it through Center City, and I went to this place. I remember banging on the door, and it was a call center. It wasn't the place where kids go, but God is good. So this old lady answered the door, and I remember that she's like, oh, baby, we're not where your kids would come if you run away. We're a call center. And I'm like sitting here, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I had to walk through Philadelphia with 2 heavy bags, and I was just done. I was so done. I was so disappointed in the adults who continuously failed me. You know, people whose job it was to protect. I remember this one social worker told me, I explained to him I had to go testify that week in court, the next week with my father, and we went to a family meeting, and I'm going down a rabbit trail, but I need to take you where I was so you can kind of like celebrate where I am now. And it's hard. So I told him that the abuse was still going on, and there was a restraining order, and my father had came by that previous week and raped me in the kitchen while my mother was upstairs. And I'm sitting there like, dude, can you get me out of this home? Because they took my other siblings out but left me there because they had nowhere to place me. And so I shared my story, what was going on, and he was like, yeah, well, you know, we're going to finish this family meeting. I remember everybody who I asked for help will always look at their watch like my time wasn't valuable. So I started to feel like I wasn't valuable. And he left me there. And the abuse continued. And when I got in court, that was where I had to take a stand. Because I figured it couldn't possibly get any more worse than this. And I remember my father's lawyer asking me what allegedly your father did to you when this happened. And I remember the sarcasm. I think I was just like, I took the bait. I was like, oh, we gonna go there? Okay. And I remember being in my Catholic school uniform in this open courtroom having to share intimate details of how I was sexually, molested. And it was very humiliating, very degrading. And he said, well, when was the last time your father supposedly did this? And it was like that point, the fear was riding me, but the fear that superseded that was, what if he didn't go to jail and he came home and this would be my life? So I was like, in for a penny, in for a pound. I sang like a canary. Yes, I did. Mm-hmm. I was an epitome of a snitch. I sang and he's like, well, when did this happen? I was like, well, actually last week. And I told my social worker, you got a point right there, him, Frank Beatrice. And he said, I had to replace me. And then the judge was like, oh, really? I remember looking down there, and he sat up, because before that, I think he was on his phone doing something, and then the bleep hit the fan. And after all was said and done, they still put me back in their home. So that's what got me to run away. And I got there, and she's like, baby, I'm so sorry. When I went to Boys Town, we have no, this is not where you go. And she gave me half her tuna fish sandwich and $2. Now, back in the day, $2 was a lot of money. I'm only 54. Anyway, and I was just so done and so depressed that I took my stuff and I went behind a dumpster. And it was in December. And I just laid down. I just wanted to die. I was done. I was truly done. And I remember, I don't know how I survived that morning. I remember waking up to them trying to get the dumpster, and I came out behind the dumpster, and I was like, well, I didn't die. I guess I gotta, whatever. And I pushed on, and the trolleys weren't running, so that's why I didn't take that $2 going to the trolley. And the trolleys were running there, and I got on the trolley, and the lady's like, baby, what are you doing out? And I'm kind of like, I'll tell you my story. And she's like, well, you need a transfer, but I had spent the $2 at the hot dog cart to get a pretzel and some tea. And I was like, I ain't got it. Just take me to where I can go, and I'll walk the rest of the way. And she was so nice, because God put people in my path like, all right, I know it's that's the deal, but we want to try to help you along the way. So she let me get on the bus, and then I went back to my church. Even though I was raised a Catholic, I went to after school at this Presbyterian church in Germantown in Philadelphia, where I live. And the pastor, I sat on the doorway with the bags, and I think I was suffering from hypothermia or something, because I remember just being so lethargic. And he showed up around 8 o'clock and said, I told him what was going on. He told me to come in. And he had went to the directory, and he was calling people, and he got to be the Jean Bullock. And there's an old lady. She was married, but then she was divorced, and she was a church member, and she took me in her house. No questions asked. And I loved her, because once she had a library full of books, and that was my coping thing, was to go to the library. So she let me go to school and do my books. There was no much talking. And I didn't find out till a month later that she had did it like 6 weeks prior, and the boy stabbed her in her back. And so she was recovering from that, but I just thought she was old. Kids, we all in our world. And I remember saying to her, why did you take me in after he stabbed you? And she said, because God told me to. And I was like, wow, I need to talk to your guy, because my faith, I was already clinging to the cross, So that was just like God putting people on my path. And fast forward, I was at Villanova University. I went to this group home in Rosemont, PA, and I got accepted to Villanova University. And then since I was 17, I was emancipated, but I was still considered a ward of the court, so I couldn't go live on campus. So I was living in SIL, which was called Supervised Independent Living Apartments, above the group home in Rosemont, PA. And I loved it, because that was my family. Like, they did the whole prom thing for me, and they was there for the graduate, because I never saw any of my family the 4 years that I was in that room. No calls, no home visits. And it's about God would meet you where you're at. He's like, yeah, your biological family's not there, but here's the family you need. And that's my squad. I still talk to them this day. So anyway, I went to Villanova University, and remember cycles, life is cycles, and I thought that it had ended with me on my birthday in 1984, but it didn't, because I didn't know my worth. I had met this staff person in the group home, and I had a major crush on him. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie, it is what it is. And I got pregnant by him. He got fired, and I had to drop out of Villanova, and I had no family to fall back on. And that's where the cycle of abuse started. Here I'm pregnant, I'm dropped out of college, and I ran into this guy who was my first boyfriend, actually my first and last boyfriend too, my 20s. But anyway, and that's where the domestic violence started. And he made me, see the way they work, when I say they, I mean the abuser, they want to divide and then they conquer you. So I already didn't have that family network to say, hey, don't let him put his hands on you. And he started with the verbal abuse, and the breaking down, chipping at your self-esteem, your self-worth. And I was already broken to begin with. And excuse me for ending my sentences with prepositions, but I'm just, the ebonics coming out. So anyway, I was already broken. So he just got in that crack, and he just wiggled his way into, I doubted myself. It got so bad that I would get off work, and it was the 65 bus to Philadelphia, and I would just ride it to the end of the line and lie and tell him that I had to work overtime, because I didn't want to go home to that toxic environment, because I felt like I had to put on my armor, my shield, so it wouldn't hurt that much. And then the changing point for me was my daughter, who I was pregnant with when I met him. He always made me feel like I should be grateful, because he's standing there and the father's not. And he hasn't. The father, like, he paid child support, but he wasn't there for my daughter. And so I felt kind of like this allegiance to him, because he was there for me when the baby's father wasn't, and he used that and just broke me down. And I came home late this day, and I just didn't want to come, and he accused me, I have to laugh, of cheating with the SEPTA bus driver. And I was like, first of all, he's gay. Second, we would just stop, and then we would, at the end of the line, and I would just sit there and talk to him and do the run back to my house. But he thought I was cheating. Make long story short, I came home, and I remember I was holding my daughter, and he swung on me. And I was just, for those who are survivors of domestic violence, let me just say, you'd be amazed how fear will give you courage. The fear of me dropping my child and him hitting my child, I didn't know I was a bad bitch. I'm just gonna be honest with you like that. I just like, it was like I pulled out my sword and I whooped him. Like in The Color Purple, I whooped him. And then he was like, I guess he's like, he couldn't handle that level of crazy, because everybody got it in him. You just gotta get the right person to bring it out, which might involve jail. But anyway, I didn't go to jail that day, I think because he's embarrassed. And I just sat up all night. I remember I didn't go to sleep. And that next day, he was like, yeah, I'm sorry, because they always remorseful after. I was like, yeah, okay. And I called a U-Haul truck, and I put all my stuff in storage. And then I called my sister, who I haven't talked to in years, like since I was like 14. And I was like, look, this is going on. Can I just come sleep on your couch? And she was married, and she said, no problem. And so her husband came, and we packed, and he came home to an empty house. I did leave him some ice cream trays and some towels, I'm not mean, And I didn't speak to him for 20 years, over 20 years. I was just so done with feeling like a victim, and I just said no more. I just reached deep down inside of me, and I reclaimed who I am. So the thing about trauma, when you tell your story, you relive it over and over again, and it doesn't get easier every time, but it empowers you. And for me, it makes me feel stronger. Because when I tell you, I had more excuses than a criminal going back to jail for not to come today. Oh my God, I had a plethora of excuses. They were awesome too. And I was going to tell but then my kids like, Mom, ain't you speaking today? I was like, God, I forgot I told them. That's my cheerleader spot. So they was ready. Yeah. My teenager got up at 8 o'clock to be ready.
Yeah.
So I was like, dang, I really have to go now. And I'm here. And and it's, if I can convey anything to people who have gone through domestic violence, it's hard to think you're going to get through it when you're in it. But when you come out on the other side, you're a little bit singed around the edges of your soul and crispy, but you're still breathing, you're still here. And I find that by sharing my story each time I share it, I feel more confidence, I feel more empowered. And I remember, I'm showing my age, Denise Williams sings this song called Black Butterfly. And that's what every time I speak, that's the song I play. Besides, what's that song I play in the car?
Black on Black? Black on Black.
No, not Black on Black. No. Not Buddy.
I'm Unstoppable.
Unstoppable. And I feel like that song is me. I've been there, and I'm proud of myself. And I realized that sometimes you gotta be your own best cheerleader squad. You know what I mean? Who better than yourself to stand there? And I literally stand in my mirror, and I have little things, so you a bad bitch on my mirror. Just little things to encourage you, because that trauma will make you relive and put you back in that victim mode. And I'm like, I'm so over that. I'm so over being a victim. And it's kind of hard because now that I find this, I'm feeling empowered, I have to tell myself, whoa, pump your brakes. That's not a barrel you need. Because I'll come out fighting and mentally, I'm like, whoa, no, I gave too much energy on that one. Let me dial it down. It's okay. At least I'm back to fight mode. And that's a good place to be. So in sharing my story, I hope I empower other people. And I hope that you guys will check out my book. It's called Life Lessons of Wild Words of Wisdom by Carol Poindexter on Amazon. And thank you very much for this opportunity to share my story.
Yeah.